My name is Joshua Baxter, and I am the hearing officer today in the matter of Dr. Robert Sepecki, docket numbers 2019-20 and 2020-04, to be heard before the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. Today is the 8th day of January, 2025. Please silence your cell phones and your devices now. Would the respondent please identify himself for the record?
Who's that on the,
We'll get to that.
well, I can't hear what he said, but,
State your name.
oh, okay, Robert Sepecki, veteran, 51 years in active practice.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I see that you are represented by counsel.
Yes,
Counsel, would you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is Trey Kitchens. I represent Dr. Zepecky.
Thank you. And you did receive a copy of the order and notice of today's hearing?
In front of me now. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And you are ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Board's counsel, would you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is Tanner Thomas. I am one of the managing attorneys here at the Arkansas Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
what he said,
We have
And we-
a second, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear?
not much.
Okay.
Okay.
If they, I
Let me do
mean,
one
if they
thing real
don't,
quick.
if they'll just talk in regular tones, I can understand.
Yes, sir.
Give me just a second if the board will indulge me. Half a second, please. Tyler. You have your hearing aids in the car?
No, they don't work. They're up for repair with MEA.
Gentlemen and ladies, if y'all could speak up just a little, I'd sure appreciate it. Thank you for.
Oh, no, I mean, I can hear, but the normal whispering tone I can't understand.
Everybody's gonna speak up. That's no problem. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, thank you. Let it be noted that everyone is encouraged to speak a little bit.
No, I can
Louder.
understand you, yeah.
And if you have any issues hearing counsel, feel free to interrupt us and we'll raise our volume. I'm going to do a brief explanation of proceedings for the benefit of anyone today who may not have appeared in an administrative hearing. The board right here will base its decision solely on the evidence presented here today. This hearing is held under the Arkansas Administrative Procedures Act, which means that the strict rules of evidence do not apply. We're not in court. This is a hearing, and the parties will be given latitude in introducing evidence. This is to promote a fair hearing and provide the board with information that it needs to make a just and fair decision. To ensure efficiency of the proceeding, I will grant objections or caution the parties only as necessary. If there is anything that you have in your possession which you would like the board to consider, it must be introduced into evidence today. All participants to this hearing are subject to the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act. This is a public hearing, and as such, deliberations of the board will be open to the public. It is important that all persons necessary to the hearing remain in the room during this hearing. If anyone needs to take a break or leave the room, please advise me, and I will make the decision as necessary. For those of you who are or may be witnesses in today's matter, would you please raise your right hand to be sworn in? Dr. Sepecki, will you be giving testimony?
Yes, he will.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Yes.
Let the record reflect that the witnesses have been sworn in, and as each of them gives testimony, I will also make that for the record. Counsel, Mr. Thomas, are there any other preliminary matters to be discussed at this time?
We spoke off the record. I have an email with a OneDrive link for the commissioners that are attending by Zoom. That will be sent to your email addresses, and once you receive it, we may recess for a sec to make sure that everybody has received it on Zoom. Again, I've copied respondents counsel as well, and I will be passing out the physical records to the commissioners who are present at the moment. I'll give you one, and Mr. Kitchens one, and the court reporter one at that moment. Trying to think of practical matters. I think on our end, the department, the commissioners and everybody will see that at one point there was an installment agreement that we had executed with the respondent to pay two payments of $5,000. It was a 60-day window to pay that off. And there was one that was a little bit late for the first installment there, but our accounting department did deposit that $5,000 check at that point in time because of a policy that we have here on that, no fault to them. But since we deposited that check, we are willing to stipulate to compliance on one issue, since we did get that one $5,000 check and we deposited it into our account. And just kind of going from order of operations, that would be the malpractice charge that we'll see here in a second for that. So we're willing to stipulate that one fact since we do have the money in our account.
Okay, thank you. And let's just first on the evidence, any objections, Mr. Kitchens, to sending the evidence out by email or what's getting ready to be distributed?
None.
Excellent. And the second, in terms of the installment agreement, 2 payments of $5,000. The first payment, are you willing to stipulate to the fact that that has been paid?
I'm willing to stipulate that the $5,000 payment has been made and a $2,500 payment was attempted to be made on Monday. And I know that the board is gonna, or council is gonna object to that coming into evidence. But it was delivered to the board on Monday, a check for $2,500. I believe it's in the envelope that sits on the table right now. And because we are in an administrative hearing and fairness is the goal, I would ask that it be admitted so it can be considered by the board.
Okay, so I hear, at least in terms of the 5,000, we agree to that stipulation.
Yes.
So let it be noted. And in terms of the $2,500 payment, Mr. Thomas, do you have any objections to that?
So I do. We have a manila info we received here. I believe here did receive it in person from Mr. Sellers, if I'm correct, on Monday. And he works at the respondent's office.
That's accurate.
And I forget his job title, but I guess that's not necessarily relevant, but it had some continuing education hours on top of some medical records, around 6 of them were included in this, and a check for $2,500, which is half of the amount that is still owed. We had evidentiary kind of talk on Zoom roughly a month ago, I guess exactly a month ago, the 3 of us and you, Mr. Baxter, here on what we were admitting. Since we received this on Monday with not much of an indication of, we thought it was applied to this and we didn't know if it'd be exhibits or an attempt at compliance or what it was. To distribute this to the commission would require copies to be made immediately here. We just have this manila folder right now and scans to be made. So due to we're going to be put out by making this available to the commissioners on our own paper, on our own time, and on our own scanner. So I'm going to have to object to that.
Okay,
I respond briefly.
yes, sir.
My understanding is the council is gonna request the board to suspend or revoke my client's license, and I understand there is some work to be involved to scan or copy the pages. I think they're less than 20 pages of documents that my client brought in an effort to come into compliance with the board. I think when you weigh the balance of justice as far as taking a man's ability to make a living and scanning pages and an attempt to achieve fairness, I would ask that the board consider the documents. They're here. It's not like we're hiding the ball. It would take less than 5 minutes to achieve this, and it might put the board in a position to see my client is attempting to comply with the previous order.
Okay. At this point, to the extent that we're still in preliminary matters, let the objection by Mr. Thomas to the stipulation of the admission of the $2,500 check, medical records and continuing education's credits be noted. And Mr. Kitchens, when it's your case in chief, you may proceed to introduce that into evidence and we'll deal with it at that time.
Thank you.
Again, for the record, what holds right now is Arkansas Code annotated 2515-213 subsection 4, which says that evidence will be admitted unless it is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. So I'm inclined to admit this for the efficiency of the proceeding. But again, we'll deal with that when it's your time to present your evidence, Mr. Kitchens. Any other preliminary matters at this time?
Oh, we'll also stipulate that the second full payment of $5,000 was not made that the records of 6 cases a month were not provided for 24 months. We'll stipulate to those two things so the board doesn't have to prove that out.
Mr. Thomas, any objections to that stipulation?
So since those are stipulations to some of the facts of this that we were going to prove, seek to prove, I'm not going to object to those two stipulations there. That leaves the continuing education hours requirements by 6 months from the order issued in May of 22.
And we're in a position that we will stipulate that since the last hearing, my client has received and achieved 42 hours of continuing education. Those records are part of the board system, which we don't dispute. They do not all reflect records keeping, but he has had 42 hours of continuing education since the last hearing. That's an accurate recitation, correct?
I think it is. The last I counted up, as far as the record we have, it does end up being 42 for 2 years, 22 and then
Right.
20 or whatever the order is. I'm an attorney. I became one to not do math. So it's, the number of hours is in this manila envelope right here and in our system and in our records. And if we'll stipulate to whatever's in this, in the records as to hours achieved, to that extent, I may be wrong.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page overall with stipulating that he did not provide 10 hours of continuing education and record keeping from May of 22 to, I think it would be November of 22 or December 22 as the order, ordered. So,
We're in agreement to that.
yeah.
So noted. Any other preliminary matters?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Thomas, are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready to proceed.
Would either of you like to make an opening statement?
I do have one to give us a little bit of context here and introduce.
Yes, sir. You may proceed.
Before I do that, I'm going to distribute. Before I do that, I'm going to send the email to any of you who are attending by Zoom. Of course, if you cannot hear what I'm saying, let me know, y'all in Zoom, and I will speak up. Or if there's something wrong with the OWL or our system, all of that, we're more than willing to pause this and fix this, go off the record, do what we need to do. So I'm sending this email right now. Commissioners, if you all on Zoom, let us know once you receive it, and let us know your name as well when you receive that. Make sure that we got everybody here on Zoom on that. I'm also, for the record, passing out several binders that contain the exact same documentation here to each physically present commissioner.
This is Tyler Davis, and I've received the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
This is Chad Chester, and I have received the packet.
Thank you, sir.
This is Tommy Wren, and I have received the packet.
This is Bill Hewitt, and I have received the packet.
This is Danny Wright, and I have received the packet.
Thank you all, and thank you all for coming. While I am proceeding, I'm going to take respondents' packet that was sent on Monday and we received, and I'm going to have our program manager, who would have been our one key witness here in this, to scan these in. Could send the PDF to me here, and then I will put that in the folder that everybody just got sent online to have the link on it, and that's where you can pull that up, PDF. Physical copies of that while I'm speaking here, and if they're not ready in time, recess.
Mr. Kitchens, any
Yeah, that's-
objections?
No objection, thank you, thank you.
All right. So, commissioners, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate your attendance here. So, we are here on two case numbers, 2019-20 and 2020-04. This is not a case wherein we're trying to prove the underlying facts of two complaints that had been issued, one in 2019 and one in 2020. There was a hearing on these two cases on May 23rd of 2022. There was an order issued on that date as well, and that is page 10 of your packet. Again, looking at these packets, they are tabbed out. Tab 6 contains your exhibits, and at the bottom of those exhibits is a blue number, a date stamp number, and that is the number that I'm going to be referring to regarding page numbers. In the packet as well, we have, I call them pleadings, but it's any sort of actual official document ahead of that. The meat of this is going to be in the exhibits, and I'll try my best not to make y'all flip back and forth between exhibits and non-exhibits. So page 10 of the exhibit is the order and the final determination of facts and issues at law in the underlying case. So just to kind of give you a summary of what the order entails here. There were findings on the charges of the respondent here, Dr. Zepecki. Number one was a failure to include examination findings per Rule 9E of the Vet Board rules, which this commission has adopted as its rules for practice of veterinary medicine. That rule states physical examination findings are to include temperature, weight, body condition, respiration, pulse, eyes, ears, nose, and throat, oral cavity, respiratory system, including auscultation of the thorax, palpation of the abdomen, lymph nodes, and evaluation of the musculoskeletal, neurological, or genitourinary systems. That is for case number 2019-20. And continuing with the rest of the violations, the following three are for 2020-04. So the following three are for the second case that was decided on that same day. Second violation on that was another one of Rule 9E from what I just read for him, not keeping proper records. And in this case, it was a surgical report and surgery records in there. Again, these complaints and some of the information is at the very end of the exhibits to reference just for what the context is on this. The third penalty and finding of this, not penalty, was incompetence, gross negligence, or other malpractice in the practice of veterinary medicine under Arkansas Code 17-101-305. And then lastly, unprofessional conduct by breaking a rule in the vet rules for a veterinarian to undertake the care of an animal and thereafter fail to render the care as generally accepted by the veterinary profession. That is charge 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so, as penalties for these, the board back then issued penalty number 1, ordered Dr. Zepecki to complete 10 hours of continuing education in record keeping within 6 months of the date of the order, which was in May 23rd of 2022. That put it square in November of 2022. Submit 6 records a month for 24 months. That would have ended in June of 2024 for 2 years there. And then pay a civil penalty of $5,000 for a malpractice violation, and then $5,000 for the failure to render generally accepted medical practice. So this case was appealed the following month, and the department issued its response. And after that, in July of 2022, there was no further prosecution of this appeal to the circuit court for a year, and this case was dismissed by the circuit court in September of 2023 and is dismissed without prejudice here by the court. So at that point in time, there was still time to comply with some of these parts of it, not all of it. But after that, I'm here in January, and in February, I'd sent a letter notifying respondent and his counsel of the noncompliance so far from this, and say, hey, send us some things, and that is reflected in your pack as well. There's a letter from me that was on February 12th. I had also sent some other consent agreements on different other things at that point. As a response to an email there, we got confirmation from Mr. Kitchens that they're looking at this and that he does still represent Dr. Specky on this issue here. So on this, later on, we had communication with Dr. Specky's counsel wanting to have an installment agreement set up on this. So this installment agreement, again, that's around page 46 and 47 of this. You'll have it executed in a non-executed copy. That was executed finally with Mr. Fisk's signature on June 26th of last year, 2024. And the summary of the terms of that agreement was to pay $5,000 on the first charge between the date of execution and 30 days after that. Then the second one was to be due 60 days after the date of execution, which would have been August 26th on that. After some back and forth, Dr. Specky did promptly send back the signed agreement with a check, but another term of the agreement was that the check was supposed to be made out to the Dutch Scholarship Fund. He sent it in with his first signature, which was before Patrick's, and so we saw that as early payment. We still got time. He can still send in $5,000 for his first payment here. And you'll note here, we have notification from respondent by and through his counsel's firm that we were okay to shred the check, and we didn't think it was being much of an issue. We finally got that first check in August. We received it legal team on the 13th, but it arrived at our office on the 9th. And that is the one that I said that we were stipulating to, that is deposited into our account. After several reminders from this to Dr. Specky's counsel's office saying that, hey, we have not received the second check. We didn't receive any sort of notification that second one was coming. That first one that we deposited was labeled as a second check, but it was not. We were waiting for one more on this. So there was an appeal for a judicial review by the circuit court on this. And we understand that that was ongoing litigation here, but as the law states here, Arkansas Code 25:15-12, that's listed in your statutes. You can turn there if you want and read it here. States the filing of a petition does not automatically stay enforcement of the agency's decision, but the agency or reviewing court may do so upon such terms as may be just. The order for dismissal, the petition for the appeal in the first place, our answer, and even the notification of the dismissal in 2023. Nobody's mentioned any sort of stay, and there wasn't any sort of hearing to have facts come out and then place a stay on the Arkansas Department of Agriculture's enforcement. So that means that this order has been in effect since May 23rd of 2022. In addition to that, I'd sent a letter prompting compliance in February of last year, 2024, almost a year ago, and also other indications earlier in that year, several reminders. We even gave some slack and offered the installment agreement that they asked for. And even then, we have not received full compliance. The only thing that we've received is a packet that we received on Monday in person. And even in that, it doesn't have compliance. Now, they've just stipulated that they have not complied here on this. We're not here to prove the underlying facts of the two medical or veterinary medicine cases in these two dockets. However, since the facts of this hearing here today have been stipulated to, I'm going to move to my recommendation to the commission as to penalties for this. These are two cases in which number one is a records violation there, and you can look at the facts at the back of your packet to see what records or information was excluded on this. Secondly, the other one was a surgery and neuter that was completely botched. And that is found in the facts, both in the order and in the facts, again, at the back of the exhibit packet that you have. In that, we've, not trying to prove non-compliance with malpractice, but in that we also have veterinary practice that did not meet generally accepted veterinary practice for that particular surgery. And is on a kitten that did not have his testicles removed in that surgery. There are also pictures of this. There's also information missing from the medical records and the reports regarding the surgery as well. And it's not great. It's not great. And you can see that summarized in the old order, but it's not relevant to the facts to be proved here. But I do believe that since this is an egregious underlying offense, that these orders were given to Dr. Zepecki for a purpose. If Dr. Zepecki has not complied with these already severe penalties, 5,000 is the max that you can under the APA, then he's not going to comply with any other penalties other than revocation. And that is my official recommendation to the commission as to a penalty here. There's not been any sort of submission of sick records a month for 24 months. That's a lot of records. We haven't seen them. We've seen 6 that were sent on Monday and 3 were within that time period window. The rest were from roughly November and December of last year, well outside of June 2024. There have been a grand total of 0 continuing education hours in record keeping taken by Dr. Zepecki based on this record that we have received on Monday that they are submitting as their exhibits between May 23rd of 2022 and I'll say November 23rd of 2022. And we'll even call it December 31st of 2022, just to give them a little extra time. We haven't received any of this. And they come here today with a $2,500 check that they sent on Monday, well outside the installment agreement, which was already a great mercy from the department, we believe as well on this. He hasn't complied with that. And so we're not inclined to accept further compliance after today's date unless the commission decides to do so. And our official recommendation is a revocation of Dr. Zepecki's license for non-compliance in these 2 cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Kitchens, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir. You may proceed.
Thank y'all for being here today. I sure appreciate y'all. I won't kind of rock back and forth. I had a hip replacement about 60 days ago, so if I have to sit down, y'all are gonna have to forgive me. If anybody wants to have a foot race, I'm not your man right now. Members of the board, I can tell you that we're not here to argue the underlying facts of compliance. Council has laid out very accurately what has and has not happened. My client did in fact pay the $5,000 first installment. He has attempted to pay an additional $2,500 on Monday to bring himself into compliance. He has achieved 42 hours of continuing education. What has not been presented, because only things that you can consider are what's presented here today. The fact that since this last hearing in May of 2022, my client has been in the hospital no less than 7 times, including at least a week in the Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota, dealing with heart problems that almost killed him repeatedly. He also lost over $200,000 from his practice in 2024 because he was not able to practice due to his health reasons. He is attempting to comply with this board. He's here. He didn't have a problem being here to present what he has to say. To say it's a great mercy to try to work with a vet who's trying to come into compliance, I think is kind of a misnomer of what the board is supposed to do. The board is supposed to ensure the safe practice of veterinary medicine. Dr. Zepecki has done that since the 80s here in Arkansas. He's in a position where he's attempted to comply. He will be in full compliance within 30 days of this hearing. We'd simply ask for the time to allow a vet who's been practicing for decades to continue to do so, when even with his health problems, he has still attempted to come into compliance and do what this board had previously ordered him to do. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Thomas, you may call your first witness.
My first witness is in the middle of our copying and scanning procedure here right now. So
Okay.
if we can recess, I will check with her real quick to see where we're at on that.
Let's take a Well, we won't put a time frame on it, but we'll just say hopefully around 10-minute recess. And we are currently off the record.
Recording stopped.
What do you think? Wrong. Jack and Kurt.
Recording in progress.
And we now have the submitted, have been printed out, and they have been emailed, put in the folder to all those online, correct?
Yes, they have. Commissioners, can you pull up the document respondents exhibits? Let me know if you can pull that up. Commissioners, can y'all hear me?
This is Bill Hewitt. I have respondents exhibits.
Good deal. Is everybody
I
else
did-
able to?
I did have to close the document out and then open it back up to get it.
All right. We'll make sure that you have it up, and I will be referencing it here in a moment. Yeah. Does everybody else have any trouble or all good picking it up?
We're good.
I have them.
Chad Chester, I have them.
Danny Wright, I have them.
Unless said otherwise, it seems that all the commissioners have the documents. Mr. Thomas, are you ready to proceed with calling your first witness?
I am ready to proceed upon my first witness.
Yes, sir.
Department calls a Miss Kara Mack to testify. Ms. Mack, I believe you've already been sworn in. Kara, if we could sit between Mr. Baxter and Patrick, just so we can get you close to the court reporter as well. And also would like to remind everybody to speak up well for the respondent.
And as mentioned, let the record reflect that Ms. Mack has been sworn in. Mr. Thomas, you may proceed with your questioning.
So. Ms. Mack, could you please state your full name for the record for us?
Kara Mack.
And, oh, so go ahead.
Clear my throat, sorry.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Thank you very much. Ms. Mack, I call you Kara. Mind if I just call you Kara throughout this?
Sure.
All right. So, Kara, what position do you hold here at the department?
Agri Program Manager.
And about how long have you been doing that job?
Officially since December 30th.
And Kara, did you work at the department prior to taking that position?
Yes.
And what job did you have at this department before you became the Agri Program Manager?
Legal Services Specialist.
So you worked with us here at the legal team, right?
Yes.
So want to turn back to your current position, what all that entails. Could you kind of summarize what you do right now for the department?
Right now, I receive applications for renewal, new applications and corporate practice applications for veterinarians and new and renewal applications for registered foresters.
Thank you. And who held that position prior to you holding it?
Candace Snablin,
And when did she leave the department?
October 11th.
And we won't hold it to that date if it's a rough date on there. Sometime in October, I remember that. So Kara, October 11th and December 30th is a long period of time not to have a program manager. Who filled in between?
Me.
Right. So Kara, would you say that you are familiar with the licensure process for veterinarians?
Yes.
Would you say that you're familiar with the online databases that we have?
Yes.
Would you also say that you are familiar with the physical files that we have there in Candace's old office, now yours?
Yes.
Right. And prior to that, you said you were our legal service specialist. Before you became the program manager, were you involved in this case as far as correspondence between this department and Dr. Specky's counsel?
Yes.
Right. So a lot of these emails in this packet are yours, correct?
Correct.
And you are able to testify to what is in this packet here on this. So one thing here I want to jump to and make sure that the commissioners have a look at this. So got a pack here. It's a binder that you had, and Trey, you can take a look at this if you want, but I don't think there's any cliff notes or anything that I've been feeding the care or anything like that. This is the record that we have. So if you want to take a look, there it is. But
Any objection, Mr.
I have
Goodwin?
no problem with her reviewing her documents. I don't think I have any secret notes in there.
I would do the law and order thing and unclip it, go around. It's like, do you recognize the document? But we did a Natural Resource Commission hearing right before Christmas and walked around this long banana table here. It just takes up so much time. And we were here for about 5.5 hours. So I'm not going to do that to any of you. So we've got the page numbers and exhibits here. Kira, could you flip to page 68 of the exhibits?
Yes.
And I'm reading the LTRAC here. I think that's what that symbol means. What is LTRAC?
LTRAC is our electronic database we use to store information regarding our veterinarians, vet techs, and corporate practices.
And I see right here in teeny tiny print on the page 68 here on this image, a date, a course, and a number of hours. Could you read each of those three to me real quick?
The date is August 2nd, 2022. Course is AVMA Convention 2022, hours 20.
Right. And so that was submitted on August 22nd or August 2nd of 2022. And it only lists the hours in the LTRAC. Did it kind of break down any of the courses or anything like that?
No.
Let's see, it just has the hours. So I'm going to show you here two documents that the respondent has admitted in his exhibits. And I don't have a page number of these, but these are the blue bordered certificates from the AVMA with the number of hours that Dr. Specky attended in classes in 2022. This would be, I guess, that AVMA thing here. So I'm flipping to the last page of this on here, and I'm passing this to Kara right now, real quick. When it says total credits, what's the number at the bottom of that?
20.
And would you say that coheres with the record that we have in our LTRAC system?
Yes.
And if you could flip those two pages back, breeze through them real quick. And if you could tell me if you see anything that resembles medical record classes.
No, I do not.
Thank you. And to the best of your knowledge, were there any physical records stating that Dr. Specky had completed any sort of medical records courses in between May of 2022 and let's just say December 2022?
No.
All right. Is there anything in the LTRAC to say that there's anything missing in that description or an LTRAC,
No.
to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
And do you have access to the files, both digital and physical, of the previous program managers we've had at this department?
Yes.
And who was the program manager before, Candace?
Kara Tharp.
Okay, and do you have access to her files?
Yes.
both digital and physical?
Yes,
Physical would be the same as what you have right now, so, and have you found anything?
no,
All right. And Kira, we'll go back to your job as legal service specialist with us. Kira, as a general practice, would I copy you on emails that I sent on this particular case?
yes,
And if I didn't copy you, would I forward them to you?
yes,
And are there, on these emails, when you look through, a lot of these are ones that you have printed yourself or scanned for these exhibits, are they not?
yes,
So you are familiar with the correspondence that has gone back and forth on this particular case,
yes.
right? And at any point during these correspondence, have we received any sort of notification that Dr. Zepecki has been at the Mayo Clinic?
No.
We didn't receive anything?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Did we receive any sort of notification that he had some medical issues and was at the Mayo Clinic? At any point in time?
I don't know. I'm not aware of any.
And in that point in time, have we received any sort of notification from Dr. Zepecki or his counsel that he was $200,000 in the hole?
No,
Right. And let's see here. To the best of your knowledge in looking at the physical and digital files that you have access to, have we received 6 records a month for 24 months since June of 2022?
no,
And other than what you have in your hand, what we were given on Monday and here today, regarding this case, has Dr. Zepecki sent in any other records?
no.
And you can flip through if you want to look at the dates on these. I think there's about 6, you can count them if you wish. About how many in your review of these that you took the other day did you find came from the time period that Dr. Zepecki was supposed to be sending records?
Previous review, I noted 3 records from that
3.
time area.
And 6 times 24, 3. You don't have to do that math here on your head. So we'll leave it at that. I'll rescind that question there. So let's see here, take a look. Got, since we have stipulated to non-compliance. Aaron, you're gonna find some of this information on, again, everybody, page 38 of your exhibits. Are you there?
Yes,
All right. Bottom, I have an email from an Audra Murray on May 16th. Could you please read that email for me?
Mr. Thomas, please see correspondence attached. Thank you, Audra Murray.
Okay, and you weren't copied on that, but have you, actually, you were on a follow-up on the chain back on 37 at the top of that. Is that your email included on that?
Yes,
All right. And so did I include you on any sort of correspondence between Dr. Zepecki and or his counsel and our department?
in addition to this,
Just, yes, in addition to this.
yes,
All right. And prior to what we have here, I'll flip back to page 34 in the exhibit package. Here, if you can tell me when you get there.
and there,
Right. What is the date at the top of that email?
May 6, 2024.
And this is a letter of counsel from Brad Hendricks Law Firm stating that they do represent Dr. Zepecki on this and other cases as well. So, Kara, you've testified as a general practice, I would forward you things or copy you on all correspondence on any sort of these ongoing cases, right?
Correct.
Prior to May sixth, did we get any sort of notification from Dr. Zepecky or counsel that they had received any letter or consent agreement that we had sent on any case?
No,
Did we get any sort of indication from Dr. Zepecky or his counsel that he was intending to comply with the order from 2022 prior to May sixth?
no,
And did we get any sort of indication from Dr. Zepecky or his counsel that he was in such a horrible medical state that he had to be admitted into the Mayo Clinic?
no,
Anything from that in May sixth?
no,
Right. And did we get any sort of indication that Dr. Zepecky was in the hole for $200,000 in his practice prior to May sixth?
no,
Have we heard that Dr. Zepecky is in the hole $200,000 before today?
no,
Have we heard that he was admitted in the Mayo Clinic for a severe medical case prior to today?
no,
Right? And other than the $5,000 check that we did deposit here, and the one that they asked us to shred on an email from Audra Murray, have we received anything but the $2,500 check that we received on Monday?
no,
Right. Other than the installment agreement that we had, have we received any sort of attempt prior to Monday to comply with the medical record submission?
no,
And prior to Monday, have we received any sort of intent to prove or say that that he is willing to comply with the continuing education hours requirement of the order prior to Monday?
no.
All right. Well, and,
Okay, counsel, could you speak up or look towards my client when you talk, please?
sure. Sure. But other than that, I'll pass the witness to respond to counsel and the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Kitchens, cross-examination?
Ma'am, since the last hearing, my client has achieved 42 hours of continuing education, correct?
Yes,
Have you done an analysis of all 42 hours to see if any of them had anything to do with record keeping?
unfortunately, that information wasn't provided to us.
I'm saying with respect to the information that has been provided, including, Your Honor, we've moved the admission of the packet of materials that has been copied and distributed to the board at this time. So it's part of the record.
Mr. Thomas, any objections?
No objection to what I stated at the outset of this.
Okay,
It's in.
that's submitted.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you to do it now. I'm asking, have you done it before?
Prior to today, no,
My client has submitted 3 checks to the board, correct? Totaling $12,500.
yes,
Okay, and he's achieved 42 hours of continuing education.
yes,
And you're not calling my client a liar with respect to his health conditions, are you?
no,
You're not calling him a liar with respect to the fact that he's lost over $200,000 in his practice last year, are you?
no.
I don't have anything else for this witness. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
I got a couple on redirected,
Let's go to the commissioners first, and then we'll go to redirect. Commissioners, whether in person or online, do you have any questions of the witness? Redirect.
Kara, could you pull out that certificate from 2022 on those? And starting where they list the classes.
Mhm.
Good, that's fine.
Starting from top to bottom, and then on the next page, can you read every title of that class that's in those?
Your Honor, I don't object. The commissioners know how to read. This is redundant and unnecessary. If the commissioners want to read it, they certainly have the capacity to do that.
Let the record reflect that your objection has been noted, but I'm going to allow Mr. Thomas to proceed for the sake of clarity. You may proceed.
If you could just read the titles, you don't necessarily have to read the doctor of veterinary medicine that gave the class or the date it happened, just the title of each course.
A rational approach to PU/PD in small animal medicine, virtual platform only. Compounding animal drugs from bulk drug substances, key points for veterinarian on virtual platform only. Feeding tubes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, virtual platform only. Top 5 mistakes to avoid in the poisoned patient. Principles of cleft palate and oronasal fistula repair. Top 5 feline procedures you must know. Syncope, how to keep them from falling. The soft tissues of canine orthopedics. Nutritional approach to the diabetic patient. The cleft palate puppy, nursing care from birth to post-op. Dental radiography, safety, anatomy, technique, orientation, and more. Nutritional management of pancreatitis. Preparing your hospital for the future of veterinarian medicine. Step-by-step introduction of techniques for surgical extractions of the teeth in the dog. Monitoring feline diabetes mellitus. Anesthesia for brachycephalic, my apologies, dogs. Cost of caring, understanding stress burnout and compassion fatigue. Anesthesia and concurrent medications, drug interactions and considerations. Canine and feline diabetic monitoring 1.0.
All right, so in what you just read, did you read in any of those titles the word record?
No,
You read anything in those titles of the word document
no,
or documentation?
no,
Say anything about, I'll use 2 terms, medical records.
no,
And see these 2 certificates, not necessarily the name on the left, but on the bottom right, who issued this certificate?
AVMA,
Who's the AVMA?
the American Veterinarian Medical Association.
Summary real quick. Who are they? What do they do? For the non-veterinarians in the commission, to explain this, they may know, but just to get it on the record.
They,
I object to this witness's qualifications for testifying on what the AVMA does, the general proposition.
Objection noted, but I do think that Ms. Mack, from her experience with the Department of Agriculture, can give a general overview of this association. You may proceed.
the association will work with veterinarians and boards from the states to notify of continuing education, events and the availability of classes that may be held, answer questions and just be of assistance to veterinarians.
From my background, I have people like the American Bar Association, Arkansas Bar Association. I can join on that. From just your own knowledge, would it be comparable to that?
Yes,
And would it be comparable to any sort of qualified hours that I may go through in these continuing education?
yes,
Okay. And so would the AVMA have an accurate record of what sort of classes that they had at a annual convention?
Same objection. Now she's testifying about how they keep records. I don't know.
I can rephrase on that.
And
So.
Your
Aaron,
Honor, we stipulated that he didn't get 10 hours of record keeping. We stipulated to that when we started all this, so I don't know the relevance of this area of inquiry.
Mr. Thomas, yeah, where are we going with this?
I was responding to recross, but we've got all of this in the record, so I will drop this line of questioning here. Kara, a moment ago, before cross-examination, did I ever ask you the question, do you think Dr. Specky is lying?
No,
Did I ask you whether we received any notification that he's had any of these issues?
no,
I didn't ask you if we received any notification of these issues prior to today.
oh, prior to, yes,
Okay. And saying that you don't know or weren't notified, is that the same as saying that someone is lying?
no,
And we didn't receive any notification prior to today,
no.
right? Your Honor, I will pass my witness for a recross. That's
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay,
Can
Yes,
we
Commissioner.
back up to me? I have one question.
yes, sir. Yep, commissioners, any questions? I'll give you one other opportunity if you'd like to.
Mr. Kitchens mentioned or asked you if you'd received 3 checks, that totaled $12,500.
Yes.
Were you instructed to shred or return one of those checks?
I was instructed to destroy one of those $5,000 checks,
Thank
yes.
I do have a question too.
Yes, sir.
What was the time frame that the 2 payments of the $10,000 total was due?
It was due. I don't recall off the top of my head. We agreed to 2 installment payments of $5,000. The first one would be due on or before the 30th day after the effective date of the agreement. And the second payment would be due on or before the 60th day after the effective day of the agreement.
What was the effective date of the agreement?
The effective date of the agreement was June 26th.
Yes, sir.
Was the installment agreement entered into some period of time after the initial order?
The initial order. Here. Yes, the initial order was dated May 23rd, 2022.
We have a summary, in the notice of the hearing and allegations of fact. Did the order itself have a timeline on the requirements for the payment of those 2 different civil penalties of $5,000?
Are you referring to the installment agreement?
Well, no, I understand the installment agreement. My assumption, and you can, well, let me ask it this way. Was the installment agreement that was entered into in this case the normal course of procedure in matters like this, or is it because those payments had not been made to that date?
To my knowledge, it was a request made by respondent for an installment agreement.
And I understand the installment agreement. I was just wondering if the initial order had a time frame on the payments of the monetary penalty.
if I may,
It's not critical. I'm willing to go with the installment agreement.
if I may, interject, if that's all right with you, Mr. Baxter,
Mr. Kitchens, you fine with Mr. Thomas providing an answer to
As
this?
long as I get a turn as well, because the answer is no.
I'm just saying that the initial order is found on page 10, and then the recording of the order is at the end of that document, finding the fact and conclusion of law on page 13. I was just directing the commissioner if that's where you found that.
Yeah, page 13 has no time limit on the payments.
Thank you.
Steve is what I'm saying up there. And if we have a medical issue, we need to deal with it, well, I'm a walking medical issue, you know that, no, I do, but, I wanna finish this and then I'd like to get the, let me save my piece, okay?
Dr. Zepecki, you will have a chance. Can you take a break at this point or can we proceed?
Right, are you okay? Well, by this time of the day, my meds run out and so I have to go lay down, so. But anyway,
Okay.
finish yourself out.
Let's push forward and, any other, yes, sir, thank you. Any other questions of the commissioners? Thank you so much, Ms. Mack. Mr. Thomas, you have another witness to call?
Ms. Knack was department's only witness to call, and so we'll end our witness questioning there.
Thank you so much. Unless we need to take a recess, I'll turn to Mr.
Yeah,
Kitchens.
and I just wanted to make this.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll go down.
And Mr.
Do you
Kitchens,
want him to come over here? Reporter, can you hear him and can members of the board hear him?
I think I can hear him.
I'm fine with, unless there's any objections from Mr. Thomas, the doctor's right here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
As long as everybody here physically and the commissioners on Zoom can hear Dr. Specky as well.
Make sure you speak up, okay? What? Make sure you speak up.
No, I will.
Commissioners online, if you cannot hear Dr. Zepecki, please let us know.
All right, let me ask you questions, okay?
Sure.
In 1 second, Mr. Kitchens, let the record reflect that Dr. Zepecki has been sworn in. Mr. Kitchens, you may proceed with your questioning.
State your name.
Robert Zepecki,
What do you do for a living?
veterinarian,
And how long have you been a veterinarian?
51 years
Where do you practice?
in Hot Springs Village, currently, Arkansas,
How long have you practiced there?
27 years.
Describe your practice for the members of the board. What do you mainly focus on?
Well, was small animals, I can't do large animals anymore, but, when I first moved there, I was large animal also, but just small animal medicine and exotics, and then, we take in all the injured animals off the street and the highway. And, I started the South Arkansas Emergency Clinic about 2 months ago because, I'm the only one that will answer my phone and talk to clients and people in, under stress. So, I'm it. There is nobody else. Nobody answers their phone after 5. I'm not sure what's going on, but, my profession, I'm presuming it's a little problem there, but, so I see a lot of emergencies all night long because I don't sleep much and, I take calls, well, from all over the state, and, they can find me, then we treat their animal and do what we can with them.
In May of 22, did this board enter an order?
Yes, they did. I was in better health then, and this all hit me in 23, my medical condition.
Describe for the board what you mean by your medical.
Well, I had a stroke and I had a heart attack, okay, and, I lost 4 pints of blood to hemorrhage, and then, was in the hospital, 7 times. 7 times, for various medical problems, which I did not anticipate, believe me. And, right now I'm about 95% corrected, and I'm doing better and I can practice, and my health will never be like it was, but it's better. And, so in fact, I'm scheduled for 2 more surgeries and then I'll be brand spanking new. And,
Did your medical conditions affect your revenue for your practice?
well, yeah, I did. The word got out that I was, dying, which I was, and, the villagers are old people like me, and so they kind of backed off. Plus the recession did not help. And so we lost, we had, our average, was about 3,500 office calls a year. It went down to 700. And, there wasn't anything I could do about it except convince people that I was still alive and able to treat their animals.
Were you in a position that in 2024 you lost over $200,000 from the practice?
Yes, I did. That was the, like I said, the depths of the recession plus, the word that I was in poor health and all that, it was a combination.
You submitted 3 different checks to this board to pay your fines, correct?
Yes,
They tore one of them up, correct?
yes,
And you submitted another one,
yes,
and then you submitted another one on Monday, which is part of the evidence before the board.
yes. I'm not asking for an excuse, but I thought we'd already complied with everything, but in my memory wasn't the best, for when all this was going on, and I didn't like even the medical records. We just put those out in 5 minutes, and I didn't know we hadn't done that, but it's a matter of now that I'm back in reasonable shape and my mental condition is fine, then I can actually correct all that. It's not that difficult to do. And actually, I've been doing what they do. How many days can I do?
You can't ask them questions, okay? Don't ask her questions.
Who, Cassie?
Don't
Oh, no,
ask.
she knows all this stuff.
I know she does, and that's great. but you
Well,
can't
I
ask her questions.
did 5 spades last week, right? Okay, I did 5 spades last week, 2 in a row.
I'm gonna object to that. He asked and I saw a nod from him.
Okay.
Well, she's my better assistant.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Zabecki and Mr. Kitchens, you have not what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Cassie.
Okay, Ms. Cassie has not been sworn in, so she cannot be consulted for any reason.
Don't respond when he asks. you a
Okay,
question.
all right, but I was just trying to get her to confirm because I was, I've seen a dozen emergencies in the last 6 days at night, some at 2 in the morning. And I just reduced the Proptos diet last night, and we sutured a doggy with some bad cuts. And we took in a doggy that was had a cervical injury and actually is responding. And we took in a kitty that had a blockage, and we relieved that and sent him home yesterday. So that's the typical practice day for me now. I'm back to what I used to do.
You've had 42 hours of continuing education reported to the board.
Yeah,
correct?
yes, sir. I went to Memphis, MCVMA. They have really good speakers down there.
And now, was that this fall?
Well, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Don't stop asking her questions.
Okay, I think it was 3 weeks ago.
And those hours haven't been submitted yet, correct?
Well, no, April's when everything gets submitted here.
Okay. And do you have any objection to getting 10 hours specifically in record keeping?
Well, it's not that. When all that was done last year, you know, the ruling and all, I went to records keeping about 10 years ago in Little Rock to a veterinarian who had been authorized to do that. And so I looked up records keeping, and there was none anywhere. There was one little 6-hour records keeping project on the internet. There was nothing. And I don't know if that's just not concerned anymore or not, because we all have automated records now. It's not a matter of manual records keeping anymore. But I was really surprised. In fact, I called up here to whoever the secretary was and said, I only found one class on the internet about records keeping, and I didn't do it because I didn't really come up with the solution, and that's about the time when everything hit the fan there with my medical condition.
Dr. Sadecki, are you a good vet?
I'm the best one in this state, and I'm not bragging over there on Dr. Creasy because I know him. But when you've been around as long as we have, the turtle wins the race, I'll tell you all, and you just get better, okay? And right now, I take in all of the referrals for South Arkansas from other vets. Usually it's miscommunication to the clients, but I fix a lot of conditions that are missed or else are not treated properly. And I use a laser, and I have a cold laser, so I do a lot of treatments nobody else does.
You want to keep practicing?
Oh, sure. That's the whole thing. I've done this for 51 years, and I plan to retire As soon as my practice sells, I'll move into a different, condition. I may even go teach at a vet school, but, I have to, I need a little time because, I'm finally recovered. I thought I was gonna die last year, so I wasn't really gonna do anything, more, and then I didn't. So the Lord doesn't want me yet. I figured that out. And so I'd like a year to get this all straightened out and comply with all this and, get my practice sold and, or bring somebody in. And, then I would just move into the sunset.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell the board?
Well, just for general, I mean, every time I come here, there's new faces, so I don't know what that's all about, but, cause Sherry Glover was here forever. But, I, would like to, this Practice Act is direly in need of revision. Okay, I've already talked to the governor a couple of times, and, I prepared some suggested revisions, because the way it's written, it's just a hammer to hit somebody with the head with. The veterinarians don't have a choice in these hearings. I was yelled at and screamed at in several hearings and told them I couldn't go to the bathroom unless they raised my hand, things like that. Now, none of this is going to happen today, because this seems like a little more of a gentle group, but this board system has to be revised and reformed. It's not fair and it's not equitable. I was Air Force Academy graduate. I had 15 years in the Air Force. I've been a vet for 51 years, been in the Guard for 5 years. So I'm not new to administrative situations. In fact, I ran a CBPO for 138 people in my last tour in the Air Force. But my only real concern for the profession here in this state is the Practice Act is a dinosaur. It's really not well written, and it makes it too easy to, the veterinarians really don't have that much of it. Now, this records keeping thing meant a lot 20 years ago when it was all manual and people would forget things, but now it's all computerized, and I'm not sure records keeping is even a legitimate concern, because every vet at this table, if you went and got into their records, you would find that they didn't comply. So it's a kind of a thing we all talk about, but we don't do. Now, in the newest, what do you call that? Well, not logarithm, but the newest way of putting in all of the questions into the record is much better. Because in the middle of the night at 2 a.m, nobody's going to sit down and think, what should I say? What should I do? My concern is for the people and their pets. And if those vets here that have been around a while know that animals are much more important to people now than they were 20 years ago. I see it all the time, and a lot of pets, if they die, the client dies because they have no reason to live. So I've dedicated myself to making everything healthy as possible and preparing people for the eventual demise of their doggy or kitty or whatever. But that's been my whole life. I take in all letters because nobody else.
I'm gonna have to interject and object.
Pardon?
This, Dr. Specky
Is that enough? Yeah.
he's filibustering.
Well, you get the idea. You get the idea. Okay. But no,
Objections though, for the record, and I do feel that this is, Dr. Zafaki, you can just focus your comments and wrap them up a little bit.
Is there anything
okay.
else you want to say, Bob?
well, I don't think so, except I saved an armadillo 2 weeks ago from a cat.
Okay.
So it was a good day.
Yes, sir.
That-
Thank you, sir.
That was my only witness, I assume, Bob.
Yes. Mr. Thomas, you may proceed with your cross.
He's gonna ask you some questions.
Oh, okay.
I promised to speak up, Dr. Specky,
If you could speak up.
and I do apologize for any moment I've been quiet. You can ask. me
No, I
why.
appreciate that.
Sometimes I do a passerby and.
Well, you're unusual for an attorney. You're quiet.
Well, yeah. We'll see. But, all right. Dr. Specky, what time period did you testify a second ago that you were admitted to the hospital?
Well, I went to the Mayo Clinic for another opinion, but I was admitted to National Park in St. Vincent's, 5 times through the emergency room system.
And is that the park and the St. Vincent hospitals within Hot Springs?
Yeah, they saved my life. And then I'm in the VA, I've been in the VA system for 30 years.
And how long were you admitted in the hospital?
Most of the time for 48 hours, and then I was sent home and then I would come back. They were able to correct the conditions, whatever they were, within 48 hours. They're remarkable hospitals. This new medicine is remarkable to me.
What time period did all of this happen?
Well, it started about 1.5 years ago. Actually, it was longer than that. I had atrial fibrillation for 3 years and I didn't know it. And it had affected my stamina and my memory and everything. And it was finally diagnosed at the VA clinic in Hot Springs. And they sent me across the street to St. Vincent, and they basically saved my life.
So this condition did affect your stamina and memory, is that right?
Oh, yeah. The whole system was, I was tired all the time and I was forgetful. So, I mean, I got a good staff. They knew everything. But I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. And I thought I was just getting old, but I wasn't. It was the AFib.
And you said 1.5 years ago. I think it's hard to believe that we're in 2025 right now.
Yeah.
Seems like I'm living in the future.
Well,
on that.
I got two.
Well, I've got a question here for you, Dr.
All right.
Specky. When I hear 1.5 years, would that be roughly late 2023?
Probably, but I had AFib evidently for 2 or 3 years and didn't know it. When I go to give blood, the nurses would say, "Oh, your pulse is too high, take a seat." And I didn't think anything of it. And finally, I guess it was in, well, maybe 22, I don't know. Dr. Palczynski,
Well, Dr. Specky, I hate to cut you off
he
right
told
there,
me I
but
had
I'll ask my next question as to what time period your extent in the hospital and all of your
over the last 4 years, I've been in and out. The first 2 years, not much. But last year and this year, I was in and out a lot.
Okay, but the time period when you're talking about National Park and St. Vincent
Mostly,
was
yeah.
roughly started in the later half of 2023, Riley?
I'd have to think about that. Most of last year is when I went into the ER for bleeding or heart condition or stroke or whatever. So no, I think all of 2024 was the big, all the big conditions. And 23 is when I started having problems, then fall 23.
Thank you, Dr. Specky. And at that point, do you remember that hearing from May of 2022 that we're here back on follow-up?
Yeah, I remember it.
Right, and is that before your big flare-up in late 2023?
Well, no, I'd already was having medical problems at that time, but I do remember the hearing.
Okay, so was that before your admission into the hospital?
Well, no, I'd been in once before that, as I recall, but it's kind of blurry. Like I said, I've been in ER 5 times, in the hospital twice.
Okay, but in your direct testimony here, in the direct exam a second ago, you said that you weren't able to comply with this particular order because of your hospital admissions.
No, it kind of
correct?
got away from us all. I looked up, like I said, I looked up the records keeping and found out it really didn't exist anymore. And then the fines, we paid the one fine because at that time we were financially pretty solid. And then the records, I thought we'd submitted all those 10 records because nowadays that's real simple. That's not a big deal. So I thought that was all done in my mind, but I guess it wasn't.
Okay, so were you financially solid when you paid your penalty?
Pardon me?
Were you financially solid when you paid the civil penalty of $5,000?
So no, I was just about to fall off the cliff. I did. I had $5,000 that I could give, but we had to take it out of another fund. No, I mean, then we went and fell off the cliff.
Okay, And so moments ago in your testimony, direct exam, you stated that you like to answer the phone from all your patients and clients, correct?
I'm the only one.
Yeah. And so would you say that you take great care to the correspondence that comes to your office?
All of it comes through me.
Okay, with
I
that,
know some of this now that I saw in here, I don't recall that at all. If I did, if it came, it went in one ear and out the other, but I don't think so. Those are different agreements and stuff. The only one I really had was, in my opinion, my estimate was the one from the hearing. The $5,000 fine and all that stuff.
so if I just heard you right a second ago, all the things, notifications of non-compliance to try to urge you in compliance that we sent before your council contacted us, is it your testimony that it went in one ear and out the other?
Well, it did because, well, no, it's when you have conditions I have, there's confusion and things, and you forget things. And so I'm not saying that's an excuse, but the only one I really remember was the original finding from that hearing. And but I thought we were taking care of all of that.
And so confusion and different things that you're dealing with the condition,
Well-
about how bad is that, would you say?
Well, it'll come, when you have him, your heart is beating too fast. And so you are confused. You can get confused easily, you can get forgetful and so on and so forth. And that's what I struggled with last year until it was brought under control. Once it came under control, I'm back, okay? So the normal, I mean, my memory, everything. But I wasn't quite aware of the effects of the AFib at the time. And I just thought the forgetfulness was just getting old, since my clients all from the village are old, okay? And most of them forget stuff too. I thought that's what it was, but it wasn't. It was atrial fibrillation.
And in your confusion in the time period, all of last year, did you have anybody to help you out with your practice regarding
Oh, yeah.
correspondence?
Well, no, I tried, this is a different world in veterinary medicine. I interviewed a couple. I even hired one veterinarian for, 2 weeks, I think. And she was an absolute basket case. So I've tried 4 veterinarians. One of them cost me 60 grand because he lied and clients. And so I got rid of him, but I haven't been able to find an adequate, suitable veterinarian to treat my clients the way they should be treated, because they're old people and they need somebody to talk to. And the modern vets from the school, the new grads, except one we're working with on her, but the modern vets don't communicate well with older people.
Okay. Besides veterinarians, do you have any other staff working at your practice?
Oh, yes, I have, I have 5, I have Tyler and Cassie, and then I have Beth, who is my kennel person, although she does a lot of other stuff. And Sandra, who comes in early in the morning for the kennels. And then Hunter, who's actually a vet student for K-State now. He's going in May, but he's Cassie's brother. And so they're very, they just take care of everything. And then Selena is an excellent vet assistant, but I'm also paying her to take care of me, my clothes and my food and stuff like that. And as a caregiver.
And say they take care of everything, would that include mail?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were confused about what mail you received, you would have somebody to help you out, right?
Well, my people pick up the mail because it's across the highway and I can't go down the hill anymore safely. And then I go through the mail and I don't think I missed anything that I know of, but I don't remember these other findings. I just remember the one I remember clearly is the first one
Well,
from the hearing.
well, I would say here, we've got certified mail green card sent back to us that they.
Well, I saw that.
Dr. Specky, if you could, Dr. Specky, I'm not finished with my
Oh, okay.
question. So I have certified mail green cards here in this exhibit, again, that the commission can look at. The very first one is on page 5 of the exhibits, and that is from February of 2024. If you look through all of your mail, then how on earth did you miss that?
Was it by signature or somebody else?
Well, I thought that people help
Oh,
you
I
out
have
to
to look.
practice.
I don't remember signing for anything.
I mean, would it matter if anybody signed it as long as it got
Well,
through
no, they
office?
all, yeah, they're all allowed to sign for me.
Okay, so, at that point, even if you didn't sign, would it matter because you stated that you go through all of your mail?
Well, I do. I go through all the mail that comes in, and I presume they show me the mail. See if that's mail.
Let me object to this. These are certified mails to my office, not his. And they speak for themselves. And they're
That-
already part of evidence that what you're referencing on page 5 are signed by my legal assistant and they're to me. They're not to Dr. Peckett.
That is absolutely true, Mr. Kitchens. Let me flip to the right page on this. For these,
005.
This isn't you, don't worry.
No, I know.
give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds here. Those are for the notice of hearing. Appreciate the notification on that. I'll direct the commissioners to the correct.
Yeah, I know. the
Certified
point you're
mail.
trying to make. Yeah. But I don't remember.
That is on page 32 of the exhibit. Again, I apologize for the confusion, everybody. I saw a green card and I went with it. So we have here delivered the Hot Springs Village, and we have your address of your practice listed here on this. What I believe, Dr. Pecky, is your practice at 4147 Highway 2N, Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, 71909?
Well, no, that's correct, but I mean,
No, just answer his question. Yes, that is his address. And there's no signature on it. There is no signature on this for anybody. Yeah.
Does there have to be a signature for mail to arrive in
No.
place? Okay, all right, and Ms. Pecky,
Let me object. There has to be a certified mail with a signature if you're gonna use it as proof that he got it.
certified printed mail signatures.
And there's no signature. That's my point. You said 4 signatures. I agree with you. There's supposed to be a signature and there's not. It's already in evidence, but you just can't argue the signature part.
No, I'm not trying to argue signature.
You
He's
look at
just,
the document, there
he's,
is no signature.
well, he's told me that he looks through all his mail, and I'm just, pointing to this.
Objection noted
So,
with respect to the signature, in terms of showing that the mail was received, you may proceed. Anything in addition?
my question was, if that was the right address, and that's, the main question I had on that, so. All right. And is your testimony today that at this point you were too confused to respond with, request for compliance with the previous order?
no, I thought that it had already been done. That was my impression, but I guess the records hadn't been submitted, and I know we didn't have any more than 5,000, and the other thing was, the records keeping thing, like I said, it made no sense, and I called the board and asked the board secretary and asked her if there were any other programs, because they're not there. There's only one itty bitty one on the internet for records keeping now. Even the other one, the CE companies, they don't have one. So I don't know what's happened. They're just not there. And frankly, that should be removed from that practice act. It's ridiculous. Every vet here, if we go to their practice, we could do the same thing to them. So no, it's not, with computers now, everything is there, everything. So I don't, but I know I looked, there was only one course, and I wasn't even sure that it even passed muster, but there just aren't any. Before there used to be a lot of them, there aren't now.
Dr. Pecky, when did you look for these courses?
Pardon me,
When did you look for these courses?
after that hearing,
When after the hearing?
The one where they did the fine and all of that. And, no, I looked it up because I was, trying to find one to go to. And like I said, I found that one that really wasn't accurate or even appropriate. And I called the vet board secretary at the time, and just in passing, I said, was there anything else? I said, this isn't gonna work. And, she said, no, she didn't know either. So that's a long time ago.
So who'd you talk to?
Pardon me?
Who did you talk to?
Whoever answered the phone at the board, I don't remember.
And where did you look for these continuing education hours? What specific
The internet.
websites? Do you have any specific websites?
Not anymore. There's about a dozen companies that provide CE now. I'm not sure they're all legitimate, but it's all over the place. And the AVMA was my first try, and they had nothing on record keeping, so that we did.
So do you have any sort of record or anything from these time periods that record keeping classes weren't available from these websites?
Well, no, it was an unanswered question. Like I said, I called the board. I said, I only found one little course, and it's not enough hours to satisfy the requirement. Literally one course, and I didn't hear back, and I think we just went off into the blue, because that's when I was having my medical conditions. I don't even remember, but I do remember calling and asking about the course. And to my grievous conclusion, that course is a worthless waste of time.
Why do you think it's a worthless waste of time for record?
Because records keeping is a club. I can get any vet in this state and go into their records and cite them for records keeping. No vet keeps records like you would think. It's not like the medical associations. There's one vet in this state that I couldn't go into their records and find 20 or 30 omissions. It's that simple. It's one of those things that like, do you wear a Nazi uniform or not? No. But what I'm saying is that it's a waste of time for the veterinarians. And it solves nothing, it resolves nothing. They don't look harder or do better. The new programs, you can hit a button and put all of those in there, and then you can go through all of the answers and questions. So now it's nice and organized, but it wasn't back then.
So I'm getting confused. Are you saying that record keeping is too stringent, or you're saying that it's too easy now?
So-called courses are a farce. Okay,
Why are they a farce? Just tell us.
is it gonna make me a better records keeper? No, because it isn't one of those things. Records keeping is a club that the board, the Practice Act has used for years when they can't come up with anything else. They get you for records keeping. I have lots of colleagues that'll tell you that. Now, that's not for your problem, but I'm gonna talk to the governor and ask her to throw it out.
Well, tell me what she says.
Yeah.
But, so the, I mean, how do you know if these records keeping classes nowadays are useless if you haven't
No,
been
they
to
are.
any?
Because it's all computerized. You don't have to go to class to do that. The programs, the software all has all of this information in it. And you just have to just display it and go through it and review it. So it's a lot simpler. But before the records keeping and compliance was silly. I met all the vets that went to the course, and I knew them all, and they were very good veterinarians. And they'd just been beat over the head with records keeping, and it's when the board couldn't find anything else, they get them for records keeping and find them. So I looked into it myself, and like I said, when I got this finding, I went to that one internet company with that one records keeping program, and it was worthless. It taught nothing. And who's going to teach me about records keeping at my age after 51 years? Nobody. None. And these vets down here I've known some of them since almost before they were born. But I'm just saying that it's a worthless thing, and it's used as a club by the vet boards. That's all. It's not it doesn't make that work better. It doesn't make the records better or nothing. And you can find omissions on any practice in the state, anyone.
So again, I'm confused. Are we talking about the usefulness of these courses or the prevalence of records keeping violations on veterinary?
Your Honor, let me object. We've gone too far afield of what we're here to
Yeah,
do today.
I'm trying to get a straight answer.
Well, if you ever want to
And
discuss
stop,
it, I'll call you.
stop. We're outside the scope of what we're here about today. We're here about the violation of an order. We've gone way far afield of that, and I just object to it being duplicative and not relevant.
Mr. Thomas, can you ask your question one last time? Really zero in.
No, I'm trying to get, what relevance it is that most veterinarians, including the ones here in the commission, not recording anything, how that squares with continuing education, medical records being useless, anything like that. It's just,
So
it's all
that's it.
thrown in together. I'm getting confused here. So I'm asking,
Yeah.
what's the deal?
No,
What's the deal? It's not a question. I object.
Okay, let's, yeah, let's take it from the start. Rephrase your question and let's try to get back on the issues. I feel like we've had a good questioning so far, but, you can continue, but really zero in on the issues at hand.
Is your testimony today, Dr. Specky, that records keeping classes, even when there's been violations in records keeping, is useless?
yes, because every veterinarian in the state has violations as we're sitting here talking.
Alrighty.
And if they don't affect the health of the animal, then they're irrelevant.
I want to go back to correspondence between our office and yours, kind of circle back. So you said that you have staff that helps you out when you have trouble doing things, correct?
Yes,
And these exhibits that you brought here today, did you bring these to us yourself?
what'd you say?
Did you bring the exhibits up on Monday or did somebody do it?
No, Tyler, my manager did.
Okay, so you have people that will bring up any sort of document that you think may help you if you're not able to do so, correct?
Sure.
Okay, why did nobody bring anything like that to prove that you were in the hospital at the point when we started corresponding with you?
Wasn't important.
Uh,
No, I was dying, it wasn't important.
and, well, I mean, were they your doctors? Were they too busy treating you or anything?
You repeat that, counsel?
So that you're saying that you were dying and it wasn't important and you had these people helping you out during
Oh,
this?
no,
time
I
period?
wasn't laying in my bed worrying about records keeping is what I'm telling you, not understand.
What my question is, I mean, if you're in the middle of a hospital stay, you have people that help you out, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and so during these stays, this time period that you're stating kept you from complying with this and answering our questions. Why did nobody tell us what your condition was during that time frame?
Object to ask and answer 3 times now. Answer again.
He hasn't answered the question, a single time. I'm asking why nobody came here.
why would I tell her? I mean,
Objection, though, you can ask the question. You can ask the question.
Go ahead and answer his question.
well, what was it? I couldn't
All right,
understand.
I'll rephrase again. If you have people handling things like mail while you're incapacitated
Oh, yes.
in all of this,
Well, they-
why did they not answer my letters and anything that I've sent urging you to comply, especially after we've sent installment agreements, all of that?
Well, I think they were a little more concerned about my health than answering your letters, frankly, okay? And I don't recall anybody mentioning any of those letters to me. But like I said, I knew what I had to do. I just wasn't able to get it all accomplished, that's all.
So, they couldn't answer our correspondence because they were worried for your health. Are they your physicians during this time period?
What?
Are they your doctors helping you out?
Well, they kept me alive.
The people that work for you?
Oh, no, you said the doctors. I thought you
Well,
meant.
no, I'm asking if your staff is so concerned with your health during this time period that they're not able to pick up the responsibilities that you've set for them. I mean, what are they doing?
I have a good staff. I won't even agree with what you just said, okay? I have a wonderful staff, the best I've had in 50 years. No, and they're very good. And they're really not there to take care of me, but they do.
So, I mean, would they take care of somebody trying to urge you to comply with the prior order?
But do they what?
Can you hear him?
No.
Would they take the care to see mail urging you to comply with an order and make sure that that happens?
They just bring the mail in and I open it myself if I'm there. And if I'm not there, I don't open it myself. And that's what they do. No, they don't open the mail and read it. They bring it to me and I separate it out. And I give them what they need to do and I look at the rest myself. I've never seen a lot of those letters, I'll just tell you. No offense, but the only one I really have a memory of is that finding from that hearing. If there's been any letters since then, I really don't remember them at all. But that's probably because of my medical condition or anything, not anything else. But no, they don't open my mail and tell me what to do. I don't expect that. They're there to treat animals and help get them well.
So you said your hospital stays for around 48 hours apiece, correct?
Well, no, some were
You can
longer,
estimate.
some were longer and some were shorter. I think 3 of those were 48 hours and the rest of them were longer.
Did you return physically to your practice, talking about the building itself, at any point after those hospital stays?
I lived there.
Okay, so you lived there.
Yeah. I've been in there for 27 years.
When you weren't in the hospital, would you review your mail?
When you weren't in the hospital, did you look at your mail?
Of course,
All right.
but none of those, I remember none of those, frankly, and I'm the one that gets them wrong.
It's been a little while. We've tried to tease out a few things. I believe you testified on direct that you've been through several of these board hearings, haven't you?
Over the last 20, 30 years, yeah. I went to, in 2004.
You've answered.
Oh, okay, yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, you can continue to answer on that. That's part of the question. If you want to keep going.
Go ahead.
Unless there's an objection.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
objection, my
okay.
mistake. Go ahead, Dr. Bob.
In 2004, a crazy woman killed.
And I would
her dog.
object to relevance because the previous
Yeah, I
board
know.
hearings have nothing to do with what we're doing here today.
I'm asking a
And
question
they're
about his
not
term.
allowed to even be considered. We're only allowed to consider the things that are.
What's the
adduced
purpose
today.
of asking this question?
Well, it was admitted on direct testimony, and here we're talking about an assurance that he is going to comply after today, despite not. And he's stating that he's ready to practice, ready to comply, and that none of this, even record-keeping violations in the middle of surgery, matters. And so he's testifying here also on direct that he's a good veterinarian, and so teasing that out.
Okay. Objection is noted, but again, under these relaxed rules, Arkansas Code annotated 2515-213, subsection 4, I'll allow the question to be asked and that the answer to be given. So.
Well, I heard you, but I didn't hear him.
Okay, would you please ask the question one more time?
Well, on this, the question was, you answered part of it there. You admitted that you've been through several of board hearings like these, correct?
Several what?
Several board hearings like the one we're having
Yes.
today, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also testified on direct that you've also received several fresh complaints, correct?
Several what?
fresh complaints.
Let me object to that. There's been no adjudication of any of those, and those are certainly not admissible regardless of the Administrative Procedures Act. There's been no adjudication of existing pending complaints, and they certainly can't be considered by this board.
Objection noted and sustained. I don't think that the issue of other complaints is relevant to this specific matter that we're here to determine today.
All right.
So please zero in your questioning a little bit.
Dr. Specky, why didn't you notify the Arkansas Department of Agriculture that you weren't able to comply?
I didn't understand what you said. The Arkansas Department of Agriculture was what?
During this time period from June or May 23rd, 2022 till now, before this week that you sent in these issues and before today, why did you not inform the Arkansas Department of Agriculture that you were unable to comply due to a medical condition?
I called and told them, but I didn't file anything. I didn't see it was relevant. I mean, I wasn't feeling well and I couldn't do what they said. But no, I called them. I called the department. I'm not sure who I talked to, but one of them was a doctor that was on there at one time, and I just told them I wasn't doing well, and that's about it. See, it's not their business what's wrong with me or anything. I just wanted to get on with everything and get everything done. But I didn't, I felt no obligation to inform the state of my medical condition. I still don't think it's any of their business.
But, I mean, is it the commission's business here today to factor that in to why you did not comply with the order from 2022?
Well, sure, but I never thought there would any of it would come up. I mean, this is coming to the edge of being absurd now, but I didn't feel any obligation to inform the state that I was sick. I mean, it's not their business. It was my business.
But you feel the pressure now, don't you, Dr. Specky?
What?
But you feel the pressure now, don't you, Dr. Zepecki?
No, not depressed, just disgusted. Okay, I'm not depressed. I know what depression is. I
Do you
have
feel,
PTSD.
no, that's not what I'm asking. Do you feel the pressure to disclose your medical condition right now?
Well, somebody asked why I did all this and I explained it, but I never felt any obligation to tell them why I didn't comply. I thought, in fact, this was all over. That's my memory of all this, but I didn't realize it wasn't all over.
Through all of this back and forth with us, the department, you, your council, that just happened last year, and everything here, and not telling anybody about your medical condition about today, why should the commission think that you will comply with this order?
Well, I'm better now and I'm lucid and I can make decisions and I don't have memory lapses. So I can comply with all of this. Let's see what they call that, a teapot in a tempest or something, but I'll find some way to come up with some so-called records keeping stuff from somebody. And then we'll pay the rest of the fine. And we already submitted the 10 records. Like I said, that's it. I just didn't know. And to me, it's a simple matter. You guys give me some time to do that and that's it. I only need a year because in a year I'll either be dead or I won't be practicing. Okay.
So are you saying that, you know?
No, I'll comply.
Well, are you saying that a year is a long enough time to comply?
No, that's to sell the practice. So I can leave in dignity. Yeah,
Well,
but no, I mean, 30 days I can do all of that.
and so apart from the continuing education, was there any sort of issue keeping you from complying with the rest of the order? All right, so I can see, you can't hear me, so I'll start again. So besides not being able to find medical record classes from
Right,
May to, I'll give you extra time, December of 2022, what other issues kept you from complying with the other three aspects of this order in 2022 and early
didn't seem important
2023?
was I was dying. It didn't seem important. I'll just tell you, it didn't seem important and I was dying. And I wasn't really aware of all these things you keep bringing up, but, I thought that we had complied. In my mind, I thought we had complied. I didn't realize until this week that we hadn't done some of this, I don't know where these letters came from, but I don't recall reading any letter about compliance until, we got that last one, and that one I understand. I'm not sure how relevant all this is, but what I'm saying is that give me 30 days and I'll comply with whatever else was left on the, order. And I can do that now. But I had no intention of not complying. It just wasn't important at the time.
All right, I'll ask a last couple questions here. So, I mean, Dr. Specky, now I'm kind of confused because you said that you started dying in late of 2023, but now you've said that it started around late 2022?
No, you're not confused. You're never confused. I know that. You just keep hitting on this for me to make a mistake and say something wrong. What I'm telling you is give me 30 days and I'll comply with whatever's left on the order. That's it.
That's the witness to the
Yeah,
commissioners.
Last year's a big
Redirect.
blank in my mind. Last year. It is.
Thank you, Dr. Zepecky. Commissioners, you have questions of the witness? Yes, sir.
Mr. Baxter, first of all, let me make certain that I understand our stipulations.
Yes, sir.
We've stipulated, as I understand it, with respect to the civil penalties, that 5,000 has been paid, 2,500 has been tendered, and another 2,500 is due.
Yes, sir.
That is correct.
And that a
Council's-
$5,000 check was tendered and torn up. There've been a total of 3 checks.
On your request.
At your request.
The board actually requested the check be torn up because it wasn't made out appropriately.
That has not been stipulated. to
I'm
that.
sorry. I thought-
Yeah,
my
I
understanding.
didn't stipulate that. What is in the record here is that we did notify council that it was not made out correctly, and it did come in with the signed installment agreement, and we were asking what to do with it. They told us to shred it up. We didn't ask if we could or couldn't.
That it was made out incorrectly and that's why it was shredded. I'm sorry if that was unclear, but he's absolutely right.
Okay, all right. Second stipulation is that you've stipulated that you didn't submit the 6 records per month for 24 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you did not stipulate on the continuing education.
I believe we did, the 10 hours of the record keeping has not been achieved. And he has gotten 42 hours of continuing education since the last hearing.
Now,
Correct. 42 hours, but the 10 hours of the records keeping has not. been
Correct,
achieved.
absolutely.
so now my questions, and I'll ask Dr. Zepecky,
Sure.
is it your position that any of those 42 hours satisfied the record keeping requirement
Well-
of continuing education?
Actually, yes, it was covered in about a half of the seminars, the importance of keeping records on whatever your findings were and all of that. But I didn't think of it in that term. I knew that there was we had to do something outside of that would be called records keeping, programs, and I couldn't find one, like I said.
But the topic of any of those 42 hours
Yeah.
was not specific with respect to record keeping.
No, but they all covered it, every one of them, now, I mean, now it's a matter of fact.
Dr. Zepecky, just a quick Google search while I was sitting here revealed a number of continuing education courses for veterinarians on record keeping. So I do believe those are out there. You're stating that you're willing to take those to comply with this order.
Well, sure, I found one, but it was only for 4 hours, and that was back during that hearing. And there weren't any others, so evidently now, from what you said, there's a lot of them. I didn't know that. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll comply.
And you've stated that you can comply with the balance of the penalty within 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Now, complying with the rest of the order, would take a number of months of supplying those records.
Yeah.
It could not be completed within 30 days, but you're willing to do whatever this commission decides with
Yes, sir.
respect to that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Mike Pallone. As far as I know, I'm the only other veterinarian in the room. I do appreciate you for what you've done over the years, and I do feel your pull on the midnight calls. We take emergencies as well, so I take my hat off to you for that. Some of the things that you've said are a little disturbing. So the templates that the computer medical records provide do not provide a medical record, okay?
No.
They provide a template
That's
for
right.
you to then fill a medical record in on your patient. Okay, so each patient is gonna have an individual medical record
Yeah.
that's different. So if your patient is then referred to another veterinarian the next day by you or just by the client's request, then your medical record that you've not filled out is important for that animal's care.
No, I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
but the
And-
template has just made it easier.
The template makes it much easier, there's no doubt, it makes it much faster to do that, but the veterinarian is still in charge of providing that animal's medical record. And so the downplay of the medical record is untrue, okay? The template makes it quicker, the template makes it easier, but for you to not abide by, I don't know what was on line in 2022, okay? I'm with Bruce. Well, I looked on my phone here too, and there are race-approved hours for continuing education on the first button I hit. When I typed in continuing education for record-keeping veterinarians, it pulled up right there. Now, maybe that didn't when you were looking.
Well, no, it wasn't there when I looked.
Okay, well, it's there now.
Okay,
And the importance of medical records is more than what you're saying to this commission.
I
These are not
understand.
veterinarians,
I
okay? And
understand.
so to say that that is not important is an untrue statement.
No, that isn't what I was implying. I'm saying that the way the board uses it on people is just to fine them and make their job worthwhile. Because most veterinarians, and I'm sure, but at this table, we could all go look at all your records and we'd find a few in there that aren't perfect. And that was my point.
Yeah, they were not on trial. They were not complained against, okay?
Right.
And what you're saying is probably true, but this complaint was against you for your medical records.
Sure, I
and-
understand.
To waive that, again, your medical history, from what I've ascertained here, I've never met you before in my life, is that period of your illness was much later than when you were given that order to attain the hours of your medical record keeping and to pay the fines. And in my opinion, if you had financial difficulties, you should have contacted Tyler and stated, look, I need more time, or here's $500, something to appease the board. In my eyes, it appears that you were thumbing your nose at the board, that you were not gonna take these hours and that
No.
you were not gonna pay the fines
Oh, that's
until
not
Monday before we met at this hearing and you sent a check. So that is very delayed in what was asked of you. And I completely understand if you did have medical records and you've had financial strife in your practice for that. But what Tyler was asking before is why didn't you let the Department of Agriculture know? I understand that had medical issues and that you had other stuff going on, but this is your job. You're here defending your right to make a living and your right to stay in this profession that I hold very dear. And if you're saying that wasn't important to you then, why do I believe that it's ever going to be important?
Well, that wasn't the strength of my statements. What I'm saying is that I found over the years from a lot of colleagues that the board couldn't come up with anything, they get them for medical records.
That
Because
is,
there was no
that
such.
does not matter in your case.
I know, but what I'm saying is, the point is that every vet in this state is not in compliance.
If I get stopped for speeding and I get a ticket, I can say there's a lot of other people speeding. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I was still speeding and I got the ticket and I paid the fine.
Yeah.
If you were complained against from one of your customers, there had to be a problem. And for then that to reach the board and the board to decide on a judgment and them to give you a judgment that you were then to comply with to remain a licensed veterinarian in this state under the, and now look, if you want to go to the governor and get the law changed, then we'll talk later. But right now, the law is what the law is, and the Veterinary Practice Act is what the Veterinary Practice Act is. And so you have to comply with that if you're going to remain a licensed veterinarian.
And
in
there was
Arkansas.
no intention on my part not to comply. I'm just telling you that what I said and what I experienced, and then my health went down the drain and I just completely forgot about all of that. But the getting a records keeping course, I'll take it and I'll do the whatever, how many, 10 hours of it. And then I'll submit it and then I'll pay the fine. And then we'll send these records every month to the board, to somebody, who'll review them.
Okay, so are you saying that if you do not comply within 30 days, you will revoke your license?
Yes,
No,
yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
If you do
I'm
not
sorry,
comply
but
within
we're
30
on-
days,
We're on the record, and when lawyers speak for their counsel, it's 100% binding.
okay,
If he is not in full compliance with this board's orders in 30 days, he will surrender his license without further action of the board. I'm going to be unequivocal and very clear. 30 days, if he's not in compliance with everything this board has asked for except for.
you better wait, because 30 days is not time to get everything that
There was
it's
a
asked
comment,
for.
there was a comment to that,
Okay,
except for the records that have to be submitted monthly. But as far as the 10 hours, as far as paying the fine and being current on the monthly, and if he misses a month, he will surrender his license. So in 3 months, if he submits 5 records, he will surrender his license.
or I'll be dead, one or the other.
well, I don't want you to be
If
dead.
he's dead, the records probably will be a little late,
Yeah.
so. But otherwise, if he misses a month on the records, he'll surrender his license. If he doesn't get in compliance with the hours and the fine in 30 days, he will surrender his license voluntarily without further action of this board.
Additional
So-
question?
So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry, this is Bill Hewitt. I have a question for Dr. Zepecky. You know, you were ordered to take 10 hours of continuing education in medical records. And you stated that there was, one course that you found for 4 hours. And my question is, why didn't you take that course in an attempt to satisfy the order that was given to you by the board?
May I paraphrase the question? Do I-
Yes,
Everybody
Counselor,
permission?
yes.
Well, but let's, hold on.
You can't hear him. I'm trying to,
No,
I want to help.
All right, go ahead.
The board member asked, you found one course for 4 hours in record keeping online and you elected not to take it. He's asking, why didn't you go ahead and take that 4 hours to try to be in
I
compliance with the
waited for an
board?
answer from the board secretary. That's it. I was waiting for an answer and then it all just went past everything and that was it. It wasn't even relevant because I was in very serious medical condition, but, no, I called here and I asked, they said, well, this won't be enough. And then whoever it was I talked to said, they didn't say to go ahead and take it. They said they'd get back to me and I said, I'll look for some more. I'll look further, but at the time, I'm telling you, I looked at her, you all found all these, records keeping courses and, well, they're moneymakers for whoever does them, but I didn't see any of them. I just saw that one record keeping course and it wasn't enough to satisfy the board.
Commissioner Hewitt, did you hear Dr. Zepecky's response?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? By the commissioners to Dr. Zepecky?
Dr. Zepecky,
Yes, sir.
do you really feel like you're in a mental and physical state to continue practicing veterinary medicine?
I am now, yes, sir. Yeah, I am now. 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have answered that question, but,
2 weeks,
yeah.
and you was practicing 2 weeks ago, correct?
Well, I got better. I'm not sure if it was prayer or the medicine, but I'm essentially a normal old 81-year-old guy.
I understand. But my question is that you said you had a associate for a couple of weeks that didn't work out, an associate for a couple of weeks that didn't work out,
An associate.
an associate
Oh,
veterinarian.
yeah, she hated men and, that was hard to deal with.
But other than that, you've been a single solo practitioner.
Well, I've had veterinarians working for me on and off over the last 40 years.
All right, let's talk about the last 5 years.
No, nothing. No,
Okay.
the last one was that guy I told you about that got me in a lot of trouble.
So over the last 5 years with medical conditions, I'm asking, don't you think it may be time to retire? I understand that you want to sell your practice. I get that.
No, I do.
But don't you think that for the profession and for the clientele out there, it might be time to retire?
No, because when my clients tell me it's time to retire, I will, but not the profession telling me when to retire.
Well, the professionals are your peers. And the professionals that your clients, your elderly clients that you spoke about, do not understand a lot of what is good quality medicine. Okay? They know what you tell them. And I'm not saying that what you do is not good quality medicine. I'm saying that your customers are trusting you to give their animals the very best care. And if you're their veterinarian, then you are who they're listening to and trusting. And so I think you need to ask yourself whether you're really conveying a message to them that they are truly getting the best quality care that they can
Well,
with your medical condition and
yeah,
with your history.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying is that I'll know when it's time that I'm not caring for the animals properly or making mistakes. That's the whole point, is when I can't help them, I'm gonna stop, whether it's retirement time or not. But my hope is that I can bring in a veterinarian who cares about clients to take over for me and help to take care of the people on the village. They do much of that right now. They're commodities to most practices. And I don't do that. But no, and personally, when I find an adequate veterinarian to come in there, I'll back out. It's that simple. But I don't want to just leave them hanging because there's nobody else. Nobody to answer the phone for the whole south of Arkansas except me. That's it. No, I agree with you. I'll know that it's time to stop, okay? Cause I clean up a lot of messes for other veterinarians and, my diagnostic background is, I'll just tell you, it's superlative, okay? I don't miss anything hardly at all, ever. And that's my point, is that I want a veterinarian to come in there who will treat people well and help with their animals, and then now.
Thank you, Doc. Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Zepecki. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, let's go to a redirect. If there's anything additional, okay. Any additional witnesses, Mr. Kitchens?
No, we rest.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we want to take a recess before proceeding closing or move on forward?
I'm ready to move forward.
I'm ready to move forward as well.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on forward, Mr. Kitchens. Closing,
And the board gonna go forward first.
I guess in this case, okay.
I guess we would, yeah.
Yeah, let's allow board go for it first. Mr. Thomas, closing.
Well, thank you everyone for coming here again. Don't want to understate that and how important it is to be here today. Today, we've heard that Dr. Zepecki is not a continuing danger to the practice of veterinary medicine. But we've also heard today from Dr. Zepecki himself, his stipulations that he did not comply with this order of May 23rd of 2022. Commissioners, they've already stipulated the facts. So what I'm about to say is not even to prove the facts. They've already told us that they didn't comply. But as far as the severity of this and to whether Dr. Peggy is a continuing danger to the practice of veterinary medicine, I would refer all of you to your packet, page 109. Look at the images there and look at the descriptions also on the order as to the facts that were proven at that hearing. I would like for you to determine in thinking through what you want Dr. Zepecki to do or not do in your deliberations as far as penalties. Do you think that he is a danger to the practice of veterinary medicine or not? You have the facts from the old case right in front of your face, and you have the facts stating that he did not comply with the order from 2.5 years ago. We've heard here today that he couldn't comply with the order because he had health issues. First, we heard that he couldn't answer our mail to him because of his health issues, but he had people handling his mail, but they couldn't handle the mail because they just cared so much about it. I don't think any of his assistants or vet techs are his treating physicians at any point in time during this period. Also, he could not comply earlier in 2022 or later 2022 and early 2023 because he had his flare-up of health issues that happened in late 2023 per his testimony. So I don't even know when his health issues started. He's had them forever, but he's had them for a very short time. I'm still kind of confused on the timeline for that, and I bet you all are as well. During that time period, I don't know why we weren't notified of any sort of health issues, even when we established correspondence with his counsel, who suggested two $5,000 payments over a certain period of time and accepted that period of time to be 60 days. So in that time period, apparently financial situation was good enough to pay $10,000 in 60 days. That did not happen, or that did not happen on that. And so what we're looking at here is we got a case where any sort of justification as to why compliance did not happen in this case, did not come until the week of the hearing when everything was hitting the fan and he got his you-know-what in a twister. Last minute. And he sent one of his assistants to make sure that he complied with this order this past Monday. No exhibits were admitted in our conference with our hearing officer a month ago, exactly to the date, and no justification of being $200K in the hole or justification of being locked up in the Mayo Clinic, not able to think through things, was given at any point prior to this date, here today. So, looking at this, there was a question asked whether he would be able to comply with this order within 30 days of today's hearing. And a stipulation here that if he doesn't in 30 days, he will give up his license, except for paying continual medical records again and again and again here. This order was not medical records from now until next year. This order was medical records 6 per month from June of 2022 to June of 2024. Those medical records existed at this time period, and presumably, if he has medical records, I don't know if they mattered enough to have classes on them, but they matter enough, hopefully, to keep them and to present them. So presumably, those medical records would be in his files at his clinic right now. So if commission does not pursue full revocation here today, based on the facts that we've seen and the underlying facts of this original case here, I think that he should be able to send in those records from that time period within 30 days as well. Now, that's not what I'm recommending to the board. I'm still recommending full revocation here today in deliberations as the decision of this commission here. Why? Compliance isn't going to happen in 30 days. It's been 2.5 years. And there's been mercy after mercy given. And even in February, we've got a certified mail receipt that this happened. Not only the certified mail receipt, but an email attached to client's counsel. He had more than just constructive knowledge that the Department of Agriculture was pursuing this order further after the failed appeal in September that he did not pursue for a year from the case. He had his chance to disprove this original case here, but he didn't. filed it, let it sit. So I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna happen in 30 days. So might as well save yourself some time. Position stays the same. Take a look at everything that we've submitted, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Council. Mr. Kitchens?
Thank you. I'm a little confused. Council again talked about mercy and showing mercy. Not his job, it's the board's job to make the decision on what happens in this case. And whether or not he's magnanimous or gracious enough to show my client any mercy for his health conditions. That's just not a decision that needs to be made. That's your decision. That's the board's decision. There are three issues in this case. A $10,000 fine, of which $5,000 was paid in the time period that was appropriate. Another $5,000 check was not honored, and we asked that it be ripped up. We submitted another $2,500 check today, and another payment of $2,500 to be made within 30 days. With respect to the 10 hours of continuing education, Google is a wonderful thing. The fact that those courses are available, it's not like he flouted continuing education. He got 42 hours. He went to conferences. He was trying to continue his craft, continue to stay up to date on the latest techniques by getting 42 hours in 2 years, which I believe is either right at or more than what he was expected to get. With respect to the medical records, we can do the medical records one of two ways. There'd be 144 medical records. We could have 144 medical records to this board within 2 weeks, if that's during the relevant time period, if that's what the board orders, with no problem. Or we could do it on a monthly basis, 6 a month for the next 24 months, whatever the board decides. Council says there's not going to be compliance in 30 days, so save yourself some time. This is a man's 51-year career of helping animals in the state of Arkansas. I think 51 years of practicing veterinary medicine without problems that had come before this court that can actually be considered is worth the time of having 30 days to see if he'll comply, especially when he'll voluntarily surrender without any action of this board if he does not comply. We think he's tried. We think he's had reasons why he has not been able to fully comply with the board's orders. He's not flouted the board's orders. He's been here. With respect to why he hasn't presented evidence to the board and the board's counsel, here's where you present evidence. You guys are the decision makers. You're both finder of fact and the finder of law in these cases. So when we have evidence with respect to health conditions, financial conditions, this is where evidence gets presented, and this is where we have presented the evidence. We believe we've demonstrated justification for why he has not complied, demonstrated that he will comply, and if he won't comply, he loses his license without further action of this board. We'd ask that he be given the 30 days requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. At this time, we're going to go off the record for the board's decisions regarding the findings of fact and the conclusions of law, and or any penalties to be handed down.
Recording stopped.
We'll go back on the record. We are off the record.
Recording in progress.
We're making sure that we did our FOIA recording
Got
on
it.
top of that. It gets confusing with the
Okay.
APA hearings.
Perfect. So we're off the record, deliberations, as you all see fit. Say that again. I mean, that's totally to the extent that they can be heard. I mean, I would consider that this is in the public. It can be heard, so you can proceed with deliberations with them online.
Commissioners, did y'all understand that, those that are online, that now is the time to deliberate, ask questions, talk amongst each other?
You got a chance.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Commissioners, did y'all understand that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're all
Council.
taking a pause here to really try to think about the whole hearing.
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and start. 51 years is admirable. But at the end of the day, you have got to comply with the laws, and any sort of punishment or orders that have been given. And in my mind, there were a lot of controversial comments made today. And as much as I hate to admit this, I'm going to have to agree with council as far as the revocation of licenses.
Bill, what was your last statement?
My last statement was, as much as I hate to say this, I have to agree with the council, our council, that we should proceed with the revocation of the license.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'll go next. Dan Wright. Dr. Pallone, I appreciated your comments earlier. Is what I had been thinking. Dr. Zabisky, he just seemed to not care a lot about the record keeping. And with my idea of him moving forward with that is probably not very likely that he would do it. And the fact that went through so many months without even reaching out to us, Monday we got a $2,500 check just a couple of days before this hearing, and no comments made to the Livestock and Poultry Commission since in the last several months. And I'm all about giving somebody a second chance, but I believe he has probably used up all of his chances. He's had a great career, but he mentioned himself that his health is not very good. And as far as I'm concerned, it seems like he's already ready to retire. So along with Bill, I would recommend the revocation of his license.
Dan, let me ask you and Bill both this. Is it your position that there would be a revocation pending the payment and the continuing education hours, and then a reinstatement, or a permanent revocation?
I'm for a permanent revocation. I mean, he's already mentioned he's ready to retire. So I might as well retire now.
Yeah, I concur with Dan.
Well, I'm going to say my piece too. And so Mike Pallone, again, and I spoke this earlier, and Dr. Specky is right here and he can hear us. I great respect for anybody that's held out in this profession that long, and I have great respect for people who do answer their phone in the middle of the night, because that is fewer and fewer of us. It is frustrating to be in an area that has little to no coverage by other veterinarians, and what he stated with the veterinarians coming out of school right now, not all of them, but as a general rule, they're being taught not to take emergency cases. They're being taught to work on their work-life balance more than the veterinary medicine. And it's very frustrating for those of us that do tend to the flock, that do tend to the emergency cases. With that, and again, with my great respect for his years of work, my fear is that due to health complications and due to, in my opinion, maybe a chip on his shoulder against the veterinary board and their findings over the past hearings, I don't personally think that it's gonna change. And I sincerely wish him the best, but I would have to vote for revocation of license as well.
Just a quick note, once your deliberations are complete, you do need to go back on the record for the voting. And there has to be a motion, with regard both to findings of fact and conclusions of law. And the penalty to be put down. Just let me know if you'd like to deliberate further or go back on the record.
Guys, anybody else wanna say their piece before we deliberate? Before we? You guys have an opinion?
We are back on the record for the board's findings of fact and conclusions of law. And board members, one of y'all like to make a motion and then vote on the record? It does.
No, it isn't.
Oh, yes, it is being recorded, yes.
I'm gonna let somebody else make the motion, but I think, in our deliberations that the board found, our findings of fact that Dr. Zadecki has not complied with the order of the veterinary examining board that was issued May 23rd, 2022. And he has not complied with the, installment agreement that he entered into. And has in fact violated certain provisions of the Veterinary Practice Act. If one of the other commissioners wants to make a motion.
I'll
Will,
make 'em up.
go ahead.
Yeah. Can I say a statement first or no?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yep. Dr. Plum, would you like to make a statement?
I would. And can you hear me, Dr. Specky?
Well, I didn't hear what he said.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It really pains me what's happening here. It really does. For you personally and for the profession, it really does, is much harder than you might think, for any of us to pass judgment on anybody else. And, I completely understand that, again, you've had some health issues and stuff, that has altered some things, but the fact that you were in non-compliance, you admitted, and I understand, you don't think it was important. You don't think that, that we should be holding you accountable for that. And I just think that in this, I think we are accountable for that. We are professionals and we are accountable for our profession. And so due to that, I'm gonna make a motion to revoke the license. And
Okay, so you're gonna destroy my life,
No,
my
sir.
career, and my money, and my finances, and everything. That's what you just did.
Dr. Zepecki,
Yeah, you better be damn sure of what you're doing to me, okay?
Dr.
Because you're destroying me. No, I have no place to go. I have no money.
Dr.
I have nothing. Yeah,
Appreciate your
so don't
counsel.
give me all that baloney right there you just gave me. I know.
no,
that-
sir, it's not, no, sir. it's
I
not.
wasn't intentionally non-compliant with anything. I was-
I find that hard to believe.
Well, then that's because you got a bad sense of judgment, because I did not do anything on purpose. Oh, it doesn't matter now.
It does matter now.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
it does,
We
okay.
do. Thank you, sir. There will be an opportunity to appeal if you see fit, but right now it's an
Okay.
opportunity for the commissioners made their statement. And I hear that now there will be a motion regarding findings of fact and conclusions of law. Dr. Palone, will you gonna make a motion? Yes,
to-
sir.
Uh,
So we have a
continue with revocation of license.
okay, so we have a motion regarding the findings of fact that Dr. Zepecki was found to be in violation of these specific provisions. And then the penalty to be laid down was revocation of his license. And I'll let you handling the voting with the commission.
Second.
This is Commissioner Tommy Wren. I second Commissioner Palone's motion.
All in favor?
Let the record reflect that the decision was unanimous. Please reduce the decision to writing and make her attempt service upon all parties. If the respondent wishes to appeal a decision, appeal can be taken under any specific provisions regarding this board or under the Arkansas Administrative Procedures Act located Arkansas Code annotated 2515-201 and following. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, this hearing is concluded and the record is closed.
What, we're done? Yeah, we are.
Recording stopped.
Who is that guy up next?